From surviving to thriving, automation as a foundation for success in the next normal.
And good morning, everyone. And I'm very excited to be running this panel discussion today. I think we've got some couple of great speakers online with me. We're talking about the question of from thriving or surviving. This global pandemic that's going on at the moment has caused us many issues in many parts of society. But at the same time, there have been some success stories. And the question is, how have those success stories come through? What are the surprise good news that we can get out? Where are the silver linings in this? And we've got a couple of great speakers from the gaming industry, as it happens here. We've got Tiago Veiga. He is from ARAM Solutions, and they are providing sort of technology solutions, which are all the more necessary in our new sort of online environment where people aren't going out so much. And on the other side of it, we've got the head of finance from Betpoint Group, Theodor Kristensen, and he's going to tell you how that technology has helped their business to thrive as opposed to just survive in this pandemic. So without further ado, I'm going to let the two speakers introduce themselves, and I'm going to kick off with Tiago Veiga. Do you want to say a little bit about ARAM Solutions, please?
Absolutely. Thank you, Robert. Well, Aurum is a reconciliation software provider. We do finance process automations. That's all we do, in fact. I mean, we've been around for 16 years, and our job has been, especially in the gaming industry, has been bringing the technology that's been around for more than 20 years in the banking, in the finance world, as you know very well, Robert. That's been around, and we bring that technology to the gaming world, and helping head of finance, people like Theo, to automate their processes and make sure they have the same technology available. And in the past 3 years, I mean, we've grown our client base in that industry significantly. We have a big number of operators now. Ever since we introduced the 360 reconciliation that allows them to control their PSPs, their banks, their payments, their FX rates, and that's the reason why we're here today, how that can help overlap the coronavirus crisis.
Thank you. And Theo, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and a bit about the Betpoint Group?
Yes, good day. I'm Theodor. I've been working in banking and gaming previously. I joined Betpoint Group around 2 years ago when we were a team of around 6 people. Today we currently have a headcount of over 60 people. We have recently implemented Aurum, and it has helped quite a lot on cost and automation and efficiency in the company.
Well, thanks for both coming on today, and let's just a bit about myself. My name is Robert Courtneidge. I have been in the payments industry now for over 30 years as both a lawyer and a consultant practitioner, and I'm here to try and help the industry move forward, work with regulators, work with industry bodies, and just try to ensure that we have the best regulation and the best technology to thrive in all these circumstances. So I'm really excited to have you two guys on to talk a bit about how you're getting through and surviving and expanding during this difficult time. So specifically, Theodor, what sort of changes have you seen in your business since the events of March this year?
Initially, it was a little bit increase in numbers of people being online, logically, with all the lockdown measures going on. But it didn't affect us too much. We were on a good trajectory before Corona, and we have continued in this period with more or less the same growth. Of course, there was an initial investment needed to put all the employees at home, or not put them, but enable them to work from home. But other costs were drastically cut, like travel and conferences.
And in relation to as employees, did they embrace it, or was it very difficult to start with?
It has worked quite well, I would say. There's both embracing and not so happy about it. It brings both benefits and disadvantages to the employees. So
And
yeah,
how do you keep that morale
both
with the staff in these times? I'm guessing that's been quite a tough one.
Yeah, we've been doing quite a lot of online events and trying to keep the spirit we would have in the office the same online to the best of our abilities. And also, for example, do Friday poker, Friday quiz, stuff like this has helped quite a lot to keep the team mentality strong.
That's great. That's great. And Tiago, so how has your business worked through this time? Because obviously we're going to be looking at how has it enabled some of the businesses like Theo's to continue in this time.
Well, Robert, I must say that at Aurum we work with a big different variety of industries. From even very industries that suffered a lot, things like traditional cash-based industries, like the hospitality industry, for instance. We also are in banking, finance, and we've seen many different things happening. But also at the same time, we see a big trend, which is digital payments, and it was just a massive acceleration since March towards now. And see, more and more orders have been done online. It doesn't matter what the business is. Even, again, brick and mortar retail companies have to accelerate their online retail as well. And well, fortunately for them, the ones that already have our technology implemented or similar technologies that enable them to continue to work from home, to automate their finance processes. I mean, this really changed, I think, and Theo is here to confirm the way that finance departments and accounting departments need to operate. But I'm sure that with the right processes, the right technology, finance departments now have, because the less cash transactions there are, and the more digital payments and the more automation they have, there's a fantastic visibility and more control than they ever have in their financial position of the organization at all times. And I guess that's what we try to do here, trying to reduce the big pain of financial closure as quickly as possible.
And Theo, would you endorse that? Have you found the use of the ARAM solutions to be something that's made your life easier in these more difficult times?
Absolutely. But as Tiago is saying, we're still working on the solution to make it even better. I think it can bring in a lot of quality analysis and shift a bit away from the reconciliation. So we're trying to even locate which banks there might be a problem with and all of this before the PSP comes and tells us. So we can make the necessary changes quicker.
So you're getting more time to deal with the data? Is that you've got better strategy?
More time. Yeah, more time to deal with the data and more structured data, so it's much easier to analyze.
What sort of things does Tiago's software do for you?
Well, it depends. For the most important part is the automatic reconciliation. It saves a lot of time and efforts. Before I started implementing their software, I was looking to expand my team to around 6 people, which is a much higher cost than implementing their software. After implementing their software, I basically found out that I only need 3 people in the team.
Wow, that's a big difference. Tiago, do you find that in a lot of industries that are taking up your software, that they need less staff?
Absolutely, Robert. Particularly when I always say that technology is not a silver bullet, right? If you have only makes things go faster. So if you have poor processes, it's not a silver bullet that things will only go bad faster. That's just. But when companies they need to work with people like yourself, Robert, and to experienced consultants that can help them get their processes nailed perfectly, and then technology just makes everything go fast. It's like a turbocharger, And well, luckily for the Betpoint, Theodor is an experienced finance controller. He comes from the banking industry, so he knew what he wanted, and we just made everything streamlined, and that makes a very big difference. So it's not just about technology; it's technology and very good processes.
And the thing I'm seeing generally in the payments and financial services industry is this growth of reg tech as well as the sort of fintech that you're talking about. Are you embracing the sort of financial controls and the compliance controls? ARAM, are you coming up with some sort of reg tech as well?
I mean, as you know, it's side by side. And for instance, we've been discussing here volumes increasing, more and more players. And you know what that's going to bring? That's just going to bring more regulation, more attention from government entities. And it is imperative that the fintech companies that provide technology to the finance also help the regulation side, because regulation is the tide. Volumes grow, regulation is following at a fast pace, especially these days, because we know that regulators are no longer a strange body as they were before. Now they work side by side with the operators in any industry, and so they understand the industries now, and they try to make the legislation to protect the players or to protect the consumers, but also to help the companies thrive. And it's our job to provide them, for instance, in client money segregation, making sure that all the reports are there ready for the regulator with no problem at all. You press a button and you have all the necessary reports, and that's one of the reasons why people like Theodor are so happy with our solution.
And Theo, are you finding that there is a lot more regulatory hurdles to overcome in the betting industry and the gaming industry?
Yeah, I think that part only goes one way with time. I think it only goes to better and stricter regulations.
And how are you dealing with that at Betpoint? Have you got a lot of manual systems, or are you finding automated systems like ARAM being able to help you out in this?
Both. Like I said earlier, we're still working on Aurum and making it perfect for these kind of things. We're just up and reconciling at the moment. But I'm trying to build reports to automate more or less everything I can automate, as it benefits us. And it's always an advantage getting a suggestion number up to yourself, and then you can control check it rather than calculating it from the bottom up. Well, you would calculate it from the bottom up, but getting a feedback, a number to control check with.
And we are seeing a rise in automation, Theo, I think, across many industries, including the gaming one, especially during this pandemic. Do you just see that as something continuing to grow? And is this what would have grown anyway, or do you think the pandemic has accelerated it?
Accelerated the regulations.
Accelerated the compliance as well. Do you feel you've got more control over the business as a result of more automation now?
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, even the lockdown helped. I would say it was more or less 2 months straight just working from home with very little other stuff to do. But of course, in these times, it is becoming ever more important to keep a tight control over the cash we have. And as regulations get stricter, it leads to both opportunities and challenges, and it even makes the control of the cash more important and the company.
Absolutely.
And Tiago, so are you seeing more organizations turning to you in these times? Are you finding your order book filling up, or what's happening on your side?
Well, Robert, I'm a bit, it's a bit embarrassing to talk about that these days. You see, we've been very, very fortunate. This pandemic has no doubt accelerated the growth and the need for automation. And as I mentioned earlier, even very traditional industries were forced to go in the digitalization way. But I think the most surprising thing for us is the stage where companies are thinking about automation is totally different than it was 2-3 years ago. As now We see exciting startups, for instance, in the gaming world, that don't even have a gaming license. They just have an idea, they have some investment, they are about to start, and they already want to start with all the right procedures, all the right automation in place. And that just makes them super efficient and makes them super, super successful, because, that's key, isn't it? In these days, cash is key, as we know your financial position at any one time is key. I mean, Theodor knows the pressure he gets from the C-level guys, always asking, what is our cash position? What is our cash position? They need to know before making key decisions, before making strategic decisions. What market are we going to attack? If you don't know what your financial position is at any one time these days, you are in a very, very big danger of making bad decisions. And then there's nothing worse than having to retract from attacking a new market or things like that. So that's I think why the big need for automation. So again, quick answer is yes, more companies and different companies as well, which has been very interesting.
When you say different companies, are there other industries that are looking to the same sort of solutions you're providing? So is it cross-industry?
It is, yes. So again, back in the day, the history of reconciliation. Again, Robert, you're the real expert here, but the industry, the regulation was very strong in banking, very strong in financial services, and then he moved to insurance and legal firms, and now iGaming is a very big thing as well. But then fintechs is blowing up and taking our order books significantly, but as well, retail, e-commerce. I think it never stops. Even energy companies, utility companies. So I think every company now needs to cope with the inevitable, which is automation is key. You cannot run away from automation.
You talk about retail companies there. During this pandemic, we have seen a much bigger move towards online shopping, and a lot of the high street retailers have been moving a lot of their books online to enable more sales. How have you been able to help in that space? Well,
it's been tough for them, I must say. Some of our clients, in the high street, were very well-known brands like Lakeland or Le Creuset. They have been struggling, as everyone knows. Even for instance in the also retail but hospitality world, some of our clients like Casual Dining Group have to totally rebrand, and they have thousands of restaurants across the UK, across different brands, and they have to rebrand as the Big Table Group. So they have been struggling. But what I must say is, for instance, you see what happened at Casual Dining Group. They were so quick at doing their restructure because they have so much information. They've been our clients for about 5 years now. So they were able to pivot very quickly, know exactly what restaurants they had to close across their multiple brands, what restaurants were profitable, and how they could and how they could pivot from there also to doing orders online, and that was, it makes us, it's sad, but it makes us very happy that at C-level they were able to make that decision super quick, and that was exactly because they knew at a unit level, what was making money and what wasn't, and that makes us very happy that we were able to help them across these difficult times. But also the movement to online, it's as Theodor knows very well, the volumes grow, volumes of payments grow. Also, the volumes of feeders grow. So before, payments were just Ingenico, WorldPay, just the traditional card processors and cash. And now we talk about, PayPal, Neteller, Trustly, Checkout, HiPay. The number of feeders is unbelievable, especially in the gaming industry. There can be hundreds of payment methods. They're like mushrooms in some markets. And it's all about having one system that just copes with everything, just takes all the feeders, takes care of all the reconciliation, gives you all the information you need. I think it makes a big difference.
And Theo, how exactly would you describe the process of bringing on something like ARAM Solutions to other businesses that may not have this automation today, that are thinking, watching this Gosh, it's a great idea, but it would kill us to try and bring that in now. What was your experience of bringing a solution in like this and implementing it?
Yeah, I mean it's an investment perspective. The more transactions you have, the more forced you are to go over to a system like this and get it done. And in these times, it's one of the safe and good investments that will pay off no matter what. Companies might be lacking opportunities at the moment, and this is a great investment to get sooner rather than later if you're planning to grow to a certain size. It's really easy keeping track of the numbers when you're on a small scale, but once you grow into multiple of hundred of thousand transactions and the small differences that can be between the systems, it's ever more important getting in a software like this that can handle the volumes and support you.
And the implementation process itself did you have to do side by side, manual and automated, and reconcile them together to start with? Was it quite a hands-on job?
We just kicked it off from a certain month, so we did manual up to a certain month, and then did side by side for 2 months, and then we go solely over to Aurum after that.
And what was your experience?
Good. No, but it's really important to plan your resources and all of this, obviously, and try not to put it simultaneously as the company has a lot of other implementations and such to go about.
And do you think in a pandemic when people are at home, this is a good time to do it, or is it a difficult time to do it? Did it make it easier or more difficult, the fact that so many people were working from home?
That depends on your team. Our IT team is always remote, and Aurum is not located where we are either, so it would have been more or less the same process, no matter.
And what about your finance team, with the fact that they weren't in the same room as you when this was going on?
That's also common for me. I work with a multinational team with people in multiple countries, so it would have been the same. The only thing that's done is that it's a bit more hard to do the quality work like analysis and and keeping the employees motivated. It's more of on an HR level than actual implementation. Our company is quite set up for these times. We have no problem working from home, all the individuals, and we're good at keeping contact and doing it all the tasks and efficiency that is needed.
And Tiago, you must have been involved in so many of these implementations. What advice would you give to some of these companies that may not have automated solutions today, but are thinking about it and thinking, oh, I don't want that hassle now?
Well, I think rule number one, it's like, don't fight the inevitable. Automation is key. If you don't go down that road, you will simply regret. That's number one. But then I would say there are really 2 points. Number one is nail your processes. I've said it during this panel multiple times, but really getting external help from consultants that will help you get your processes straight. How do you want things to work? Unless you have, like I said, experienced staff that really know what they want. Perfect example is Theodor, and you saw his answer, very straightforward. He knew what you wanted, how we wanted things to work, and that's why it went really, really well. And second one is, and that's a very good tip, I think, for both fintechs, and Robert, I'm pretty sure you will agree with me, for both fintechs and gaming companies, is they tend to be tech companies first. They see themselves as tech companies, and then gaming and then finance. So there's a little bit of a tendency to build their own tools, their own control tools, their own reg tools, and instead of seeking experienced suppliers. And I mean, as much as that is interesting or can save some money in the short term, it will be a disaster in the long term. And I've seen that happen many times. I've seen it happen. I'm sure you've seen it happen more and more times. Is that there's a reason why companies like Aurum I've been around for 16 years doing this, and there's a reason why people like yourself, Robert, with all your experience as well, have been helping companies, is because we've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we, a little piece of advice from us can save you hundreds of hours of not just development, but why should you allocate your developers doing things that you can get off the shelf that will work, instead of they should be spending their development time making you money, money generator activities, rather than things that are there, tried and trusted. I've helped hundreds of companies across the past 20 years and are here, and they will continue to be here to help. So I think that's my biggest tip. I don't know if you agree, Robert, but I think you can have more than that to me. Than me.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason for the growth in RegTech and FinTech at the moment, and many other InsurTech, PayTech. They all have this tech ending to them, and there's a reason for that, because technology is moving at such a rate of knots at the moment. We have so many new operational solutions coming through, but equally, as I was saying at the beginning, the regulation, which Theo will be more than aware of, just keeps piling up. And it is impossible to deal with it on a manual basis, this regulation, because a lot of it is reporting. All the regulators like to get reports because that's how they can analyze quantitatively and qualitatively what you're actually doing as a business, and whether or not you are actually following what's required. A lot of those reports you can't do manually. You need it to be created once your business gets of a certain size. And also, from a regulator's point of view, when they look at a lot of different businesses in their industry, they want to be able to look at them in a way from a similar perspective. So if they're getting similar reports from all the different operators in their sector, it gives them a much better feel for how that works. And the only way that's going to work is if they get some common operating standards and some common types of software that are going to be able to create those standardized reporting structures. And I mean, one thing, Tiago, is this sort of the future of automation in gaming. Do you see actually what sort of stuff is coming on the horizon, and are ARAM constantly in R&D looking at the industry and looking at how they might be able to help them?
Absolutely, and that was exactly why I put that tip right there. That's all we do. We specialize in helping companies. The regulation in gaming is following a very, very, very similar pattern than the one that I follow in banking and then insurance, and which is, there's the rising tide of regulation will not stop. And as volumes grows, particularly in some countries, the regulation will not stop. And I think one thing is for sure: more accuracy in reporting, more accuracy in client money regulation. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I was in another panel, and one of the CFOs of a very well-known gaming operator said, well, I see myself more these days as a bank and less as a gaming operator. And that tells you a lot, I would say, and Theodor agrees 100% with this, because we've talked about this as well. In the end of the day, gaming companies are held in client money, right? And so there is not that much difference. So the controls under client money are going to be getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And that's exactly, especially as more and more countries become regulated. A couple of weeks ago, Germany, last year, some states in America, and it's a massively growing market. And the more countries get involved, the more regulation will be there. And so that's how I see things growing. Is automation is key, particularly the more regulation grows and the more transaction volume grows. And again, that's why we see new gaming operators like Betpoint Group, the recent company. They already start their operations with automation in their mind, because they know it's the answer instead of trying to fight it. They embrace it, and that's what makes the difference.
Okay. I'm going to have to bring this to a close now. One final comment from Theo on this rosy future? Are you happy with your relationship with ARAM, and do you see the continuation of automation making your life easier?
Absolutely. I feel like there's still a lot of improvements that can be done. I've already spoken briefly with Aurum because they have a software that can handle quite a lot of data compared to other softwares. So even bringing in game numbers, marketing numbers, all of such with automatic reconciliation would be beneficial. And eventually I hope to just get a dashboard where everything appears.
I'm sure
That's the
Tiago will
dream.
work on that. Well, lovely to speak to you both. Thank you both, Tiago. Thank you, Theodor. And that's goodbye from me, Robert Courtneidge. Great panel session. And let's keep surviving and thriving in this difficult times and come out the other end being a lot better. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Robert.
you very much, Robert.